Hello, hello,
Hey.
hello. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the stream. It is another Friday with Trotec. I was hastily typing that during our 30-second introduction, which is why there's two smiley faces. But you know what? You guys deserve two smiley faces.
It's better than two spelling mistakes.
I mean, I can't promise those aren't in there too. James, how are you, sir?
Best day ever.
Awesome. Glad to have you here with us. If you are familiar with our streams at all, I mean, you've met James before. James is our laser rep in British Columbia, out in the West Coast. I typically ask some sort of cheesy question like, how's the weather? But it's in BC, so I know how the weather is. It's
beautiful.
It's
going to be like 27 today and sunny.
Man.
just don't ask between November and February and we'll be okay.
I don't have to ask then either. I know it's raining. That's all right. Yep. We have a really cool show planned for you guys today. Really quickly, though, we just wanted to show off. We recently made a little trailer, like teaser promo for James. You might see this in your YouTube feed if you follow us on YouTube, or you might see it just popping up around the channel. If you've never seen a James in the Van video, they are a fan favorite, certainly. This is not a set. This is not a stage. This van actually exists, and it is really, really cool. I've never got to be inside it outside of footage. So I eagerly await the day when I can finally get a tour in the van. But you guys can ride shotgun with James and learn all about lasers and all sorts of cool stuff. And then if you'd like the van to visit you, or if you'd like to do maybe a remote laser demo, you can get a hold of James and he'd be happy to set that up for you. There's his email there at the bottom of the screen. Thank you, Lev. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of fun. I mean, we burn stuff up in the back of a van. What better way to spend a day?
That's what it says on your business card, I think.
It's true.
We have LCDs asking you about the sign you made for the back of the van. It says it's not in the back.
I know. You know what? I have it in my shop. I hadn't put it in the van. I just need to mount it. I mean, I'm so bad, really. I mean, I'm good at lasering, just terrible at mounting things, I guess.
I've come to believe that nobody's good at mounting things, at least using standoffs. Those things are just, one time I swear they just work differently than the last time I used them. I don't know if maybe it's just me. It's an issue between user and
Yeah,
wall.
that was a fun project, and I'd like to make more of those. So we need some more vans.
Definitely, yeah. But they all belong to James. It's gonna be like a Mad Max sort of like garage.
That's right.
So I was saying we have a really cool show for you guys today, not only because it is a laser jam with a very talented gentleman who I'm going to bring in here in just a minute, but also because we're doing something a little bit different this week. We would love to get your feedback in the chat. And obviously you saw it pop up there, but definitely say hello. Woody Woodcutter, that's awesome. Doug, how are you? Let us know you're watching in chat. Say hello, LCD. Great to have you back again this week. Ask questions as we're going along. Feel free to interrupt us. We're here for you and for the benefit of our guests. So first and foremost, though, I want to bring in Lev, who is actually not only producing today, but he's working in the showroom with one of our lasers. Lev? Yeah, there it goes.
That's as much as you get.
It's really slow, and it's not burning anything.
No. I'll start it soon. There we go. See that? Boom.
So we're gonna do. Thank you. Okay, cool. We are gonna do some cool kind of products and things sort of in tribute to our guests today. I don't want to bury the lead here, but you'll see the laser working as we go on. And again, if you have any questions about the laser, obviously, feel free to interrupt us. But the star of the show. The person I know you're all waiting for. I mean, it's very rarely that we have people jumping on just to comment things like Beard Day.
Never skip Beard Day.
Never, ever.
Just now, picture yourself driving through the woods of Vancouver Island, winding through the roads, and it's a narrow road, and there's trees everywhere, and there's rocks coming down. It's rugged, and you come down a driveway. This is it. You come down a long driveway up a hill. There's a house almost overlooking a view through this forest. And out comes our special guest, Rick.
There he is.
Rick Heatley from Big Red Beard Combs.
Thanks for the intro, guys.
Absolutely.
Hey, that's my backyard.
I'm just showing footage of Vancouver Island, probably the most beautiful part of Canada. If you guys have never been,
It is.
It's pretty nice.
It's pretty unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in the prairies, and certainly no disrespect to the prairies, but I think it's fair to say that it doesn't look like this. It looks substantially different.
Yeah.
Rick, I mean, thanks so much for coming on. We're really excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
It's really fun.
So I have heard, and I mentioned this in the email I sent out for people to register for the stream today. I have heard tell of Rick since I started at Trotec. It's been one of the like, yours is one of the really cool. I mean, all of our customers are talented, and these streams just go to show that. I mean, everybody we bring on here does something with the laser that, you know, I mean, we're pretty consistently impressed with the stuff that our customers do. But when we get to talk to people at trade shows and things, and they go, so like, what would you use a laser for? We'll sort of say, you know, like, there are the typical things you might think of, you know, signage or, you know, like POP displays, all sorts of different, you know, cool applications. But you can also do, you know, sort of some unexpected stuff. And people will go, you know, oh, what sort of unexpected stuff? And inevitably, yours is the first name that pops up, because you guys not only do a cool, unexpected product, but you do it in like a cool, unexpected way.
It's unique, that's for sure. Yeah.
Do you want to maybe tell us a little bit about Big Red Beard Combs, kind of how it got started, you know, your interest in setting up the business, that sort of thing?
Sure. Yeah. I was making furniture for about 20 years, and I was working on a big project. It was going to be a multi-month project, so I thought I'd grow a beard, kind of like a playoff beard, and I wasn't going to shave it until the job was done. And the job kept going and going and going. Next thing you know, I got this big beard, so I started cutting out beard combs. I'm a woodworker, so I thought, oh, I'll just cut out some beard combs. And, you know, I broke the first one in a day, so I made another one. Broke it in a day, so I thought I better make a better one, because I know I can. So I made a better one, and I just showed it to a few people, and the interest was pretty high. So I thought, this might be something people will be interested in. So I made a few, took them around to barbers, and everybody I showed them to bought them on the spot. So I set up a little Etsy store and a website, and within 6 months, I had to abandon the furniture. There were so many beard comb orders coming in, and for 7 years, I haven't gone back. I think now I'm working on a piece of furniture 7 years later to get back to furniture. So.
Is it shaped like a beard comb?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and you know, it went from just me and my girlfriend to 10 people in like I don't know, a year and a half.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, and we just happened to hit the beard trend. I mean, we didn't even know what was going on. And first, it started over in the UK, and then it moved into the States, and we just kind of followed it around. And eventually, we started exporting to like wholesalers into Europe, Belgium, and Switzerland, and France, and you know, Netherlands, all those areas. Those guys are big on beards, so Big Red's all over.
That's cool. So I have to ask then, I mean, you say you were making furniture. Were you running your own business, or because you're talking about like we had to get into, you know, shipping and export and sending things all around the world? Like, was that something you had experience in, or did you just have to pick a lot of this up sort of as, you know, roll with the punches a little bit?
Yeah, you know, it was a learning experience, on-job training. The furniture was mostly just North America through the United States and Canada, and I've been doing that for maybe 15 years with my own business. It's mostly high-end commissioned furniture. So all the machinery was sitting here, other than this little guy here. It was all sitting here, so we just kind of parlayed into making beard combs. It was an easy transition. We were up and running right away.
I mean, I have to say, so Love has been kind enough here on the main screen to bring up some stuff from your Instagram profile.
Yeah.
I want to come back to the business certainly, but would you tell us a little bit about the video we're seeing? Because like this, I know it's beard comb adjacent, but like this is a really cool. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, this is it here, right here. So we needed a way to package some of our products. So as soon as we got this laser, we realized, holy cow, like, what? Look at the things we can do. We can cut leather, wood, paper, you know, our beard combs, all kinds of stuff. So we started talking to people about packaging, and the pricing we were getting for these just was, you know, it wasn't reasonable. So we started making them ourselves, and you know, these are cardboard inserts. We can cut, shape them any way we want, and we make our own packaging. The idea was to make a box that could be assembled with quickly, no glue, no real experience. We got a lot of workers, and I can show someone how to assemble one of these in 10 minutes, and off they go. It was also a product that could be flat packed. So once a lot of other beard comb companies and perfume companies and stuff saw the packaging, we were just making packaging for them, and they could all be packed flat. So you weren't taking up big, huge boxes of assembled, smaller boxes. You could just pack all the stuff flat and then assemble them on site. This became a very popular product, this one.
Well, I was going to say, like, this is what's impressive to me too, is it just goes to show that sort of nothing goes to waste. Like even in the construction of this box, I was going to ask James, so you can see the way that it's, I want to say hinged, but it's not really hinged. It's the way that you have that sort of clasp at the edge. It all seems to be a lot of the previous, like woodworking and furniture building knowledge that you're able to then repurpose to projects of all sorts, right? I mean,
yeah. This was something more of like along the lines I used to do on a CNC router, but with the laser, I was able to cut, like in the bottom corner there where the little fingers go through, and you get square corners.
And it's tight.
And like, tight, small details.
And like once that box is together, it feels like it's been glued and brad pinned.
Yeah,
like it's
totally.
They're very, very tight. Like once you get it dug in nice. I built a box for a customer. I built a program on Rhino that builds these boxes, because you buy a load of Baltic birch and it's 3.12 millimeters, and then the next one is like 3.4, and the next one is 2.9, and so they were exasperated by how to keep the hinges or the spring clips tight. And I ended up building them a algorithm with Rhino and Grasshopper they mic the thickness of the wood, they type it in, and everything changes until it's perfect. So every time they get a new piece of wood, they just mic it, type the number in, hit go, and it makes a very tight box.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So yeah, this is right up my alley. I love this stuff.
Yeah. Stay tuned for the announcement of James's small business Big Red algorithms.
Big Red algorithms.
Yeah. So coming back around to the business, I mean, that sort of begs the question, I think, though. I mean, you talk about how you had all of the equipment sort of ready to go. I mean, you had the CNC routers, you had the experience, you had the background in woodworking already. Obviously I'm a little biased, but like, why add the laser? What is it that you felt like you were looking for that the laser adds, or what was it that brought Trotec to your attention sort of originally?
Yeah, that's a good question. We needed to brand our items, like you can see on that little comb right there. We needed to brand the items, and we needed to make them unique. It was interesting when I started this company. I thought, oh, this is something somebody might be interested in. So I Googled it. Nothing came up. I mean, you can't type anything into Google.
That's very rare these days.
Yeah, that's a nice feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh wow, there's nobody doing this. So we got to make these unique. And I was paying another laser engraver company to engrave my combs, but I got to the point where I was paying for their machine. I was paying them a lot of money. I thought I could just own this machine and have it on site. So if I have to work till 11 o'clock at night, I can. If I want to try a few prototypes, I can. So it made sense to just add this machine, and we added it right away within 6 months, I think, or maybe even sooner. And it's been running for problem free for six plus years.
Yeah, when I came to install your machine, it was your shop wasn't like it is now. It was like, well, here's our CNC, and we're not sure where anything else goes. It was just kind of like, okay, now it looks like it looks like you're hunkered down, you're embedded.
Yeah, we're using up every square inch of floor and wall.
I'd love. I mean, it's no pressure, obviously. If we can get a tour from you of the shop at some point, that'd be awesome, because I've heard tell.
Yeah, we can walk around and take a look.
Sweet iPod, by the way. It's sad when like iPods are retro now.
Yeah,
That's a weird
kind of
feeling.
age yourself there. Eh?
Yeah.
That was the like coolest iPod ever too. Like the 120 gig one. That's a cool one.
Yeah. Remember back in the day when you could use an iPod as a USB stick? Not so much anymore.
No.
It's interesting though, that custom packaging you were doing, it made me think of Apple in as much as like it has that beautiful form factor, but it just goes to show that like you talk about how the packaging business sort of has taken off as well. Those little details really do sort of make the difference for people, I think. I mean, it seems like it's played out in the market. Like there's a lot of examples showing that like that little bit of detail and customization, like you're talking about, really counts.
Well, yeah, I mean, you find lasers in IKEA and stuff, and they're engraving products, you know, and all kinds of stuff like that. Like people realize, even Apple, you know, you buy a new Apple product, they'll engrave it for free for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's that personalization that really people love. I mean, we sell one comb that offers free engraving. Nobody orders that comb without the engraving. I mean,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
This is an open question. I want to turn it over to my co-host here a little bit too, but I have to ask because I think it's fair to say, and I'll try to say this in the least marketing way possible, but you have a brand that's very like, it's pretty cool. I mean, like let's just lay it out there. Like the iconography that you guys use is all very like modern, and it's contemporary, and it's beautiful. Am I wrong in assuming, Rick, that you've had some, like when people are ordering custom engravings for their combs, that you've probably had some pretty wacky personalizations come through from people who want some?
Oh man, yeah. You know, we got the bearded folk too. They're a rough group, some of them. The weirdest ones come from the other countries where you know, maybe their sayings are slang and I don't understand what it is.
Yeah.
So you're engraving this comb thinking, I hope I'm engraving this right, because this doesn't make any sense to me at all, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's all kinds of stuff. Mostly it's you know, their presents. So it's, you know, happy birthday.
Of course, yeah.
From the kids or from you know, the girlfriend or wife and stuff like that. So, you know, it gives that personalization to that person. Every time they use that comb, they get that memory.
That's
sure.
really cool.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, I've been at, James, you've probably had this experience. I've been at corporate gigs, like demoing the laser for corporate salespeople, and we'll offer like a personalized pen. And we have people coming over like, hey, can you make it out to like Big Willie or like you know, Big Boss Man or whatever? It's like, really? Like, sure, but
more weirder stuff like at trade shows and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, I think I can do this. You look one way, you look the other. Okay.
I've definitely had the like, can you do one for each of my kids? Sure. How many kids do you have? 8. Oh, well, darn, you know.
And they're all named Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Smith.
Can you put Happy Hanukkah on this one?
Yep.
Oh man.
Can we see Rick's studio? I actually really want to see it.
Yeah, people. Absolutely.
Rick, do you want to do a quick tour?
Yeah, let me flip you around here. Oh, there's Joe.
Yep.
1 second.
All good. If anything, James has been there the one time, and the start of this proved he has the theater of the mind thing going on. So
I
there
do.
we go.
Yeah, yeah. This looks great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, in the corner here, I've got the computer hanging off the wall, and recently I put it on this kind of rotating thing so I can stand right beside my laser here and get this thing basically hanging over the laser, which is really nice. Cool. This is an example of something else we do too. So these are the combs, and they fit into these little trays. So we've custom made these trays to hold a lot of combs.
Oh wow!
And it centers everything. Oh, these burn marks are the holes in the center here.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
cool.
And that's all done over here on the. We got a 4x8 CNC, which becomes a big table anytime there's not machines running.
Yep.
There's wood veneer project.
So, Rick, I just had a quick question about the CNC. I mean, basically every project you guys do involves collaboration between the CNC and the laser, right?
Yeah. This machine cuts out the combs. They start in sheets. I'll show you an example here. So that's a finished sheet. So we start off, and then they're They're cut up out of the sheet, and then they're brought over to the laser and put into trays. So I have a whole stack of different trays here. Every one's for a different comb.
Cool.
And I
Very
can just
nice.
drop those straight into the laser. I already have the program all brought up. I bring it up on Ruby, and then it's the combs. Flip them over if they need to do the other side, and we're good to go.
And this is basically because you don't obviously want the burn marks on the edges, like you know, with if you cut it with a laser.
Yeah, it's interesting. We
Ooh.
Rick, did we lose you?
No, there we are.
Oh, there we
There
go.
we are.
Yeah, it's interesting. We don't want the edges to be burned, just because when you're running that through your beard and there's oil and stuff in your beard, it'll the residue will come off in your beard.
And then you'll really smell like a lumberjack.
Yeah, sitting around a campfire. So, but I found that if I do the proper settings on these, I can get combs to come off here with hardly any residue at all. It's all about running the proper power and speeds, and for the right thicknesses and stuff like that, and the material. I mean, the material makes a big difference. So there are times when a wholesale customer will call and say, "I want 500 combs with my own brand on it," and I'll offer them. I'll just straight up laser engrave them for them, and I can reduce the costs. Because to machine them on the CNC and then clean up all the edges adds considerable time.
Yeah. Well,
I was just going to say for those guys who are wondering why I'm going over the second time, because I put I wanted to increase the power, and then instead of 0.85, I put 85. So I'm just doing it again.
Nice.
I've never done
You must be using one of the new 300s.
It's a user error. Sorry, guys.
You're using one of the new 300s with the OptiMotion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that's why it actually worked.
I was wondering that. I was like, why did it go out on 85?
Yeah. At 85, it will actually do it. Won't cut anything, obviously, but yeah. Nice.
It actually did. Yeah, it grazed it a little bit, like it just cut.
That sort of leads me on. Actually, that's perfect, love, because that leads me on to the question I wanted to ask Rick, which was, what's your secret? Because realistically, like, wood is probably one of those. We get questions about how to, let's say, like, what are the best settings, or what's the best way for every material in the world? Like, was it just? I mean, is it, trial and error? Like, what's your secret, man?
Yeah, it is a lot of trial and error, and wood is a variable product. So even the same material, I find too, even if the laser's hot or cold or at different temperatures, it can act a little bit differently. So what was a setting that worked in the middle of summer might not work in the winter. Maybe it's just me, but so you're constantly tweaking it, doing tests and stuff like that. And maybe I have 2 or 3 settings, and then I'll save them into a database. I have a huge database, so I can call on experience and bring up certain products. But if we're doing a comb with a maple core, it's going to cut differently than a comb with a different core. That's a good example there of a bunch of combs. So yeah, and leather. I mean, we cut a lot of leather products. We make wallets, and it depends on how the leather is tanned. It makes a huge difference on how it cuts.
That's true. Like, I love cutting veggie tan, but all the other leathers, most of the other leathers, like some of them, you're not even sure if you want to cut them. Like, what was it tanned with? It's like chromium or something. And what am I breathing?
It'll throw up big, huge flames and stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes just won't cut. It's like it's absorbing the power out of the
it's true. I mean, there probably are bits of chrome in there. Yeah. So, you're now have reflections to deal with, as well as the stinky cutting of leather.
Very stinky.
Yeah, you gotta just keep practicing and tweaking it. And I think Ruby's trying to take care of some of that with the options for all the different filters that you can add.
Can we talk about Ruby a little bit with you?
Yeah.
What's your experience with Ruby? It sounds like you've drank the Kool-Aid with Ruby here, and you're.
I run them both still because Ruby doesn't do everything.
Of course, yeah.
I find I can run Ruby 75% of the time, maybe even 80% of the time. And a lot of the designs that I had in job control, I can just right-click, export, and send it straight over to Ruby, and they work. So I would prefer to work in Ruby. What I found with Ruby is now that I'm doing some laser engraving jobs, things like someone will give me a PDF or a JPEG or something. I can just drag and drop it right into Ruby. And it's a really good job. Some of the earlier, I think we're on the third Ruby, maybe second Ruby.
Third beta.
Yeah. The first one was, it showed great potential, but it wasn't. I was having trouble with it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. The third version, it's getting really good. Yeah, and definitely the way to go. I like some of the features.
Oh. Whoa. Wow.
Sorry, right? I didn't know it was going to have sound. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
Yeah, the layout's fantastic. I really like it. I'm a fan of it. I really like the database there. I can keep all of my drawings in there. I have hundreds and hundreds of different drawings. And I just keep them in the database, and being able to just type in, I can just type in, all my combs are numbered. So number 53, number 9, number 7. I can just type in number 7, hit it. All my number 7 combs come up. They're right there. I can just drag and drop. I can drag multiple different drawings onto the plate, which in job control was a nightmare. I'd have to open the file, drag it into the side queue, open another one, drag it in the side queue, open another one, drag it in the side queue, and then drag all of those into a plate.
Yep.
That's all gone with Ruby. You can just drag them right into all the brand ones onto the plate. So, yeah.
It's funny you mentioned too about doing the JPEGs or the PDFs. We were just talking about. Well, I was talking about that with my colleague this morning. The fact that if somebody sends you a file, let's say if you're a sign maker, or James, you did name tags for years. If somebody sends you a file that just happens to have one typo, the trouble of necessarily having to go back to the customer to open it up in Corel again to possibly edit this file to send it back to you, another PDF, and yada yada. Where, with Ruby, the potential to just be able to open it up, change the one letter that's missing or in the wrong spot or whatever, and just go without all that wasted time. It's, as you say, it's a work in progress certainly, and it's still in beta. But
of course, yeah.
Donna, I just wanted to mention, when is the launch for the new version of Ruby? I think it's.
So there's going to be another. So my understanding, and everything is still slightly in flux, so don't hold me to this. But at present, the launch schedule. So we have another update coming in June, sort of mid-June, and then that's. Can we say who that is, James? I don't want to.
Yeah, James Mom. Hi, James Mom.
And my aunt too. It's like I'm a big star in Kelowna. Hi guys.
Right. So we have another big update coming in June, which will be sort of as Rick was sort of alluding to. It'll be that sort of fourth beta, the sort of fourth version of Ruby, and then at present the full version is launching in July. So we have the full kind of finished packaged, and obviously it'll continue to receive software updates and things going forward.
The roadmap is cool.
Absolutely.
We're not allowed to talk about it, but
please take our word for it that it's cool.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy to hear that, though, Rick. That's really great. What would you say? And I don't mean to make this too much about Ruby, but certainly there are people who I think are a little bit nervous to make the jump from, and obviously, as you said, job control is still there, but what was it that prompted you to sort of be courageous and jump on the Ruby train?
I like any kind of updates and stuff. Like this CNC I have behind me here, they haven't updated the software in 10 years. It still looks, like they're running Windows 2000 or Windows 95, right? But I have other products like 3D printers and stuff that they update software every other month and stuff. So
yeah.
I like a company that's keeping up and changing their products and improving their products. And you can do a lot through software using the same hardware, make huge improvements. So, I first jumped on Ruby right away. I was like, oh, I need to have this. And I got it. And then I was like, because it was brand new and it's in the first version. But as I used it more, it made more sense. It took a little while to figure out because it is very different. Mm-hmm. It's a very different approach. But after you use it for a while, you're like, yeah, this makes sense, and this is a much better approach, much better organized. well thought out. So, I mean, once you make the switch, I mean, if you bought a laser now and you never used drop control,
you wouldn't.
I don't think you'd miss anything.
You wouldn't know it. Yeah.
I have to agree.
We had a
look at that comb.
We had a question here for Rick. What bed are you using for the 300, Doug from HBA?
I have a vacuum table on it, and then I put the cutting table on it. And actually, I've got a little hack for you guys too. I've built a little piece of wood that goes around the cutting tray that slips over and drops down, and it seals all the gap below the cutting table. Because when you drop a cutting table onto a 300, it might be different with the other machines. There's an 1/8-inch gap at the bottom, but the little aluminum feet hold it up off the table.
And you don't have the cutting table that has the gasket on it.
No, it doesn't have a gasket. It's an aluminum frame, and it's got the aluminum crossbars underneath.
Okay.
I did try. I put weather stripping all the way around the outside.
Yeah, because we do have a cutting grid for vacuum tables. So hey, but hey,
another exciting update.
hack away, my friend.
I had see, I've got the same table in here for 6 years, so it's probably a good table. I clean this table every once in a while. I've actually disassembled it, taken the grid out, and flipped it over because the bottom side of the grid's never been used. You know, the top side of the grid gets dents and nicks and stuff in tiny little pieces. I've stripped the table out, turned it over, and it's brand new on the bottom side.
Why didn't I think of that?
For user.
I surprisingly, I have a vacuum cutting table here.
There you go.
It's basically a grid with a little, I don't know if you guys can see that.
Rubber gasket,
Yeah, so
the flap.
That's what I did. I put like weather stripping around the edge, and it worked. The next time I went to clean it, it just dissolved off. So that was getting annoying. And I found that the rubber foam, if it's not perfect, it can throw your bed out of level. You know, if over time, if it gets compressed more in one corner or something, and you're going to do something that's very delicate, it needs to be exactly flat. You could be off 20 thou in one corner from one extreme corner to the other, and you get varying results. And some products, it doesn't matter. Some materials, it doesn't matter. Some make a big difference. So this way, it sits right on its aluminum feet. It's dead flat, as flat as it could be for a cutting table.
I wanted to. It's funny you mentioned material. I wanted to ask you about that. I thought because James sort of brought it up earlier. You know, obviously Trotec stocks all kinds of different, you know, solid and veneered woods and different things. I'm not going to put you on the spot to say, you know, oh, do you use Trotec woods or whatever. The question more is, it seems like a material with a sort of a big learning curve. You know, you guys can maybe help me out here in sort of explaining this, but saying that like, not only do you have to sort of accommodate, like with acrylic, you know, it doesn't warp. You don't have to worry about humidity with acrylic. You don't have to worry about, you know, moisture content with acrylic. You don't have to worry about, like, if you're ordering like a natural material, wow. Really?
Yeah,
wow, that's surprising. You said you broke your first one on the first day. I sort of, after you broke your second one, did you think like, am I doing this wrong? Like, am I?
This is an improvement. Speaking of materials, this is a custom material. So I worked for 6 months with a local shop that specializes in veneering. They do mostly furniture veneering from my furniture history. And I told them what I wanted, and we've custom made a plywood sheet for these combs. So it's a 5-layer. It's a 5-layer plywood with varying thicknesses of ply. So the center ply is 3 times as thick as the other plies. And basically we made like a little mini skateboard deck. So they're fairly strong for what they are. Because the whole idea with the big red beard combs is something that you take with you. So it's not necessarily a comb that you're going to use in your bathroom, but you're going to throw it in your car, in your glove box, you know, in your jacket or your backpack or whatever. So they need to be fairly strong. And when you start cutting teeth that fine into a wood product, you know, you could just run your finger along it and it'll bust off all the teeth if it's solid wood. So yeah, materials. I've bought a lot of Trotec materials to try them out, and some of them are fantastic, like the engraving aluminum and all the plastics with the colors and stuff, acrylics, papers and stuff like that. Some of the adhesive back stuff where you can engrave in and expose the gold or underneath, and then stick them down as stickers. We've tried all those products. They're fantastic.
Rick, I got a quick question for you. I mean, was it just these glass bottles that you guys do, or even these ones?
Yeah.
Did you think about laser engraving them, or did you just it was a part of the brand image? You wanted the sticker instead of the engraving, or?
It's funny because there's a guy that makes beard oil, and he's a very big beard oil company, and he laser engraves all of his labels, and they look fantastic. But my job was more the manufacturing of the product. Carrie, my partner, she's got a degree in illustration, and she does all the artwork for the combs and stuff, and she's taking care of all the packaging, all the labeling and all the packaging and all the wrappers. That was her deal, and she went in that direction. Also, we were talking about needing, tens of thousands of labels and stuff. So it becomes a point where, I can pay 2 cents for a label, and have it manufactured, or I could spend too much time on the laser. Mm-hmm. So I mean, the laser is great for a lot of things, but it's not the answer for everything. So
that's a great point. That's kind of my thinking too with the CNC. I mean, yes, you could do the burn edges for some things like signage on the wood, but obviously not to put into your beard with the resin.
Yeah, I mean, you want this thing to pay you $100 an hour while it's running at least, right? So you've got to look at your end product and what you can sell it for, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense. I mean, unless I get a machine that runs 5 times as fast, then yeah, it starts to make sense. But
I can get you one.
Yeah, I would love one. Love one. It's on the roadmap.
Exactly.
This whole stream has been a ruse just to get to this conversation. No, but I think you make a good point, because I wanted to ask, as a business person, I mean, not just as clearly you have an enthusiasm for cool woodworking, tools and toys and stuff, but as a business person, I imagine you have to sort of keep that stuff front and center as well too, right? Like you talk about time management and sort of like asset management, all that stuff. It's, how does that sort of shake out in terms of, what percentage of your day are you sort of able to be creative, and what percentage of your day are you sort of forced to be, in that sort of business mode?
Yeah, sometimes you're forced to bang out the combs, and you got orders, going on for months. And it's important to have your processes in place that are efficient. And like something like this here takes a job that could take much longer on a CNC and brings it down to seconds. And when you multiply seconds by 10,000 of something, the numbers add up very, very fast. So when you're manufacturing a product, I kind of work backwards. I say, what am I going to sell this product for? What are my materials going to cost me? And then how much time's left to make this product, because I still want so much profit at the end. If you look at that equation and you're like, I can't make it fast enough on the laser to make it profitable, or you got to go in reverse and say, I got to charge more. Can I charge more? And if you can't charge more, like the beard combs became a very competitive thing. And I had companies, in Russia and Hungary and Bulgaria, just completely copying my entire comb line. But I made sure that I kept the product price low. So why would you want to buy a copy out of Bulgaria when you could buy the original?
Yeah.
And the only way I could do that was to make sure that it was efficient, that I was making these combs super efficient. And, buying one of these rather than paying someone else to do my engraving, and doing all this artwork quickly, and cutting out stuff and doing a hybrid, like I was talking earlier, between the CNC and the laser, and using the laser for its strengths. I get people asking me, should I buy a laser or should I buy a CNC? They're two completely different machines. They complement each other beautifully.
Agreed.
But you can't do certain things on a CNC you can do on a laser, and vice versa. So you need them both.
I think that's sort of been the takeaway from a few of these podcasts that we've gotten to do. Our customers will have both, and they inevitably say, some version of exactly what you're saying, that it's not one or the other. I mean, given, I know they're expensive, and I don't mean to, obviously some people will have to, maybe get one and then the other, or whatever it happens to be. But, they really are a complement one to the other. If you're in the position to, they each do something really beautifully and can kind of play off one another in a nice way.
Yeah, and it does come down to what you're making. So if you had to choose, got enough money for this or for that, you just got to look at the product you're making, and is a laser make more sense? Are you going to get more use out of a laser? We bought the laser simply to engrave artwork. So that was the sole purpose, is to engrave artwork all day long, hundreds and hundreds of combs, constantly, and that's all it was doing for years. But then after a while, I realized, hey, I could start expanding my product line. So I started cutting leather and making wallets and making our own packaging and all kinds of other things that you can make with the laser. And now this will come back to like, buy a machine with the most power you can afford. I bought a 60 watt because all I was doing was engraving clones with it, and it was perfect for what I needed. I could run at full speed. But then when you start pushing into other areas that you never even knew you were going to do, you want more power.
And you will.
Yeah, having a 120 watt for cutting that thin wood. Like, imagine having double the power, right? I mean, it's you're gonna have like basically a clean edge. That's example, very cool.
A perfect example is this. I started getting into these. I don't know if you can see these. These are block prints. So this is going to a letterpress. And the guy is pressing these on a real old school, like 90-year-old press. So I make these big panels on the laser that he puts into his printing press, which is something I would have never thought I was going to do. But they're like, hey, can you make these? I'm like, yeah,
nice.
Sure. These are cool. Yeah, there's some of them on my Instagram feed there. And now I've realized that a 60 watt laser, like that one I just made the other day, that's multiple passes at an hour and 20 minutes a pass.
Yeah,
it's not efficient. You want to do that in one pass at 30 minutes, and that's where your 120 watt laser running at full speed instead of 20% speed.
Yeah, Rick, I just wanted to ask you. You have two other brands, right? Atomic Laser Co. and what was the other one?
Coastal Studios.
Coastal Studios. Can you tell us a little bit about those, and why did you sort of decide 3 different brands for your business?
The Coastal Studios is just my woodworking feed, so it's got a lot of pictures and stuff furniture I've made going back 15, 20 years, and they're just kind of projects that I work on the side and stuff like that. So little things I'm trying out, furniture I'm working on. The Atomic Laser is just to show people different jobs that are strictly laser jobs that have nothing to do with my woodworking or big red beard combs. And there's all kinds of stuff on that. There's the letterpress there.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was such a cool project, and that was the first one I made. And then the guy really loved it. He came back and got another. I actually made 2 panels, so he's doing multiple colors now, and he's pressing one color over top of the other. The end product is so cool looking.
They're like wood blocks.
He's on Vancouver Island.
Yeah. There's the panel there. So I mean, how else are you going to make that panel, right? For a press, like it's so intricate and I was working with another printing company that he works with, and they were all like, just, this is awesome, when it was done. And what a great use for a laser. I mean, I would never even thought of that. Someone came to me with that idea, and I was like, yeah, this is a great idea. I mean, you could make a business probably just of printing panels.
Just doing wood block, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys doing letterpress printing. Once you get into it, now that you Google or you go on Instagram for a bit, it's making a huge revival. Like, people like that old school process, because it gives you more like a silkscreen look than a digital print look. So very popular with weddings, and and then with the letterpress, they can make plates where they can emboss into the paper too, so you get this nice looking embossing as well as the silkscreen look. It's really cool.
I mean, it's definitely cool.
Are you making your own? Are you making your own leather punches or leather dies too on the laser?
Yeah, you know what? I've got into the Delrin, and I got a whole drawer of them here. I'll show you some of them. Yeah, so when I make my leather work, again, I was just like, well, how am I going to stamp these, right? If you can see, there's a whole drawer of them here. So this is 1-inch thick Delrin, and I can engrave. Here's a stamp for if you can see that, for my my wallets. So you can see, you can engrave all this fine detail, all kinds of things. So I've got different stamps for everything, and I just throw them in the arbor press.
That's so cool.
So, and we sell a line of soap. So I was thinking, well, let's brand our soap too. So I made a stamp for soap. So I can just hammer it in when the soap's curing. I can just hammer it into the soap and brand our soap. And then I saw a couple other soap companies saw it. I'm like, I want one of those too. So next thing you know, you're making soap stamps. So I mean, it's endless.
That's so cool. I really admire that too, because I think, like you say, at some point, I always think of it like a label maker, right? It's like once you have it in the house, like you don't know if you'll have a use for it, or you might get it with one use. Then once you have it in the house, after about 2 or 3 weeks, like everything suddenly appears like an opportunity to use your label maker. You know what I mean? Like everything has a chance to, you cut that cheese with a knife, like boring, hand it over here.
I got my one of those UV printers you guys sell. I mean, that's a fantastic thing. Mixing a UV printer with a laser, printing on wood. My girlfriend works at a print shop too, and they have like huge $500,000 printing machines and stuff like that. And the ideas just get going. Like printing on wood and laser engraving them out. Like you got a whole new product range now. Because engraving into wood itself looks really cool, exactly what Lev's showing there. But printing inks and colors onto wood and still having that wood grain background, you got a whole different product line.
I remember I tried printing onto wood with the Mamaki, though. They do look awesome. I mean, especially if you mix and match, you do some parts engraving, some parts UV printing. It's just, you could do wonders.
Do some UV printing and then punch holes right through the product as well, laser cut right through them and stuff like that. That because when we started making manufacturing, like especially for our wrappers, there's specific sizes and they have holes and stuff and layouts and crease lines. You got to pay to make dies, and dies are expensive. So, I mean, if you get someone that just wants to say, I want 50 of these for my wedding, they're not going to invest $1,500 in a die where you can blast all the holes and score lines. I've made some wrappers where I put dotted, like perforated lines and the paper creases right on the lines and stuff.
I love doing that.
I only need 50 of them, and bang, I bang them out on the laser in no time. So
we tell people that you can do that, and oftentimes people don't believe us because it sounds kind of almost like silly, but it's totally doable.
I mean, we were printing labels out of China, and problems with China now and stuff like that, and they want 4-month delay, and they want 5,000 wrappers, and I don't need that many right now. So I've run out of some wrappers, so I'm having a company print them for me, and they print like big sheets with 15 of them on there. And then I just come along and hit all the score lines where the folds are, all the holes I need, cut out the profiles. And, I can bang out 300-400 of them in an hour, and boom, I'm back in business.
That's easy,
I mean, how else are you going to do that?
I mean, Also, just really quickly to touch on, for anybody who's not familiar or not in the know, James, can you tell us a little bit about Delrin, or what it is? Like what the material you were showing there? It's a stamp material, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It's a highly machinable plastic. So it's they use Delrin, that's sort of a trade name for it. It's actually acetyl is the actual name for the plastic. But Delrin, like, it's really machinable. You can CNC cut it. You can laser it. It has a really high heat point, and so it works great for engraving. Yeah. There's a big block.
Piece of 1-inch thick Delrin there, and it comes in white and black.
White and black.
Yeah, and you can get it in like this. I bought a 1-inch thick because when you're making stamps and you're pressing them with an arbor press, you don't want the material to flex, so you need that extra thickness. But you can buy the stuff down into 1/8 I think. And there was a guy asking me about it one time, and he was cutting out gears for his little robots and stuff. Self-lubricating, it
really works great. Yeah, it's got the feeling of like Teflon. It's really kind of a slippery plastic, and it machines well. It lasers with really high detail, and it can take pressure. and it can take a moderate amount of heat as well, which is cool.
Yeah, we actually sell sheets of Delrin for our seals. So a lot of all lawyers buy these types of seals. So that's from Trotec, our sister company.
It's an interesting product too because it has the properties of, say, brass, like its durability and stuff. And the machine's a lot like brass. So traditionally, if you're getting leather workers or getting stamps made, they're being machined in brass. And you don't really need brass to stamp leather. I mean, those Delrin stamps I've made, 20,000 stamps later, 30,000 stamps later, they look exactly like the day I made them.
Yeah.
And so when you're banging off you're doing leather work and you want a custom stamp for, a run of 30 wallets for somebody, you're not paying $500-600. You're paying $10 and 20 minutes on the laser, and boom, you got a custom stamp. You throw it in the drawer, they come back, you got that stamp again. So the flexibility. I mean, again, this is a perfect example of a CNC could make a stamp out of brass, but I can make it on the laser in a fraction of the time.
Yeah, no tool paths, no changing cutters.
Yeah, couple passes over to get your depth, and you're off and running. You're stamping leather an hour later. So, yeah, no waiting.
I might get you to chime in on this as well here, James. But I have a question from the chat from Eduardo for Rick, who's saying that he's seen what you do, and he's asking if a 120 watt fiber or flex laser would be a good place to start with a laser. Maybe I'll throw that to you first, James, to sort of say, like, what would be your tip if somebody's looking for their first laser? Like, what's the thing that helps you determine which one is the right one for you, kind of thing?
I mean, it all depends on what you're doing. Like if you're cutting through some heavy duty stuff or you need really clean edges on wood, 120 watt laser is going to be perfect. If you don't know what you're doing yet, you definitely probably don't want to start with a laser like a 120-50. And then that's where it comes down to Trotec, is that you don't just have to buy a machine based on your own research and then go, oh, what did I do? You actually sit down with someone like me and you say, okay, well, is this what I need? And I'll be like, I'll look at what you're doing and I'll say, you know what, if you really want that, okay, I will sell it to you. But you know what, this product maybe 4 steps down is going to suit you better, and then we will help you become successful and work your way up to that. Like Rick doesn't have 120 watt Speedy 300 yet, but by the look of what he's doing, he wants 4 of them.
Or 400.
No, 400.
Oh, 400. Yeah, I remember when we installed it, you had a space taped off for where the 400 is going to go.
It's still open. It's still available.
Yeah, nice. Okay. And so like a 120-50 is at the top end of our Speedy line, the very top end of our Speedy line. So I'm in a real world sense saying probably not the best place to start, but it all depends on your application, Eduardo. It all depends on your application.
Can I just ask Rick a quick question about the fiber laser? What I'm showing right now, what did you do to engrave that on the metal or mark that on the metal, Rick?
That's Ceremark.
Oh, that's a Ceremark. Oh, I see. So
I have a guy in Vancouver that cut out those in stainless. So that's a 6,000 watt laser cutting out those things. And then I'm making the wood scales on the CNC, and they're interlocked. So they have that comb actually has holes cut through it, and then the scales come in from both sides and lock together onto the comb. And before I apply the scales, I'm hitting them with Ceremark, and engraving the logo on. Again, this is a perfect example. Like the last guy just asked, do I need a fiber laser? And after all this time, a fiber laser is very specific to doing very specific things. You can go a long ways with Ceremark and stuff. We have a little dog tag company too, where we engrave all the backs of the dog tags. And I mean, you got to get into really large numbers of stuff before you need a fiber laser, or you're doing very specific things. Like the last guy asking about the 120 watt laser. If you can afford a 120 watt laser, get a 120 watt laser.
Absolutely,
But if like when I bought this thing, all we were doing was engraving combs, and I engraved 100,000 combs before I did anything else with it. So it was ideal for what I needed it to do. But if I was starting a business and I was cutting 1/2-inch thick MDF, this is the wrong machine. So just like James says, you gotta, what am I doing with this laser, or what do I think I'm gonna do with this laser? Because a lot of the time, the stuff that I'm making now, like those letterpress panels and stuff, you don't know what you're gonna do in the future, maybe. So if you're one of those guys that's gonna do a whole bunch of stuff, get more power for sure. If you're a guy that's doing one specific thing, just buy a laser for that specific thing, and then later.
This is why, like, someone in a role like mine, we have to be incredibly impartial when dealing with our customers. I have to be working for you, because if I say, oh, of course the 120/50 is going to be great, you should buy that, and in the back of my mind I'm like, this guy's not going to use all that power, and then he's saddled with a lease payment that he's not going to be able to afford. Now he's not successful, and then that's not going to make us successful, because he's not going to be able to buy all the materials we manufacture. I'm going to lose out by telling him he needs this machine. So that's why it's important to come see someone like myself, because I thrive when you thrive. When someone like you, Rick, is doing so well with your machine, and people hear about it, they say, wow, okay, this is great. This was a success story. And if I have more failure stories than success stories, then I might as well go working for Jim's Algorithms.com or something.
Big Red Algorithms.
Big Red, that's right. Big Red Algorithms.
I would suggest going the opposite way, like starting with a product that you need a laser for, like I did. Getting a laser to do products that you don't even know what you're going to do. It's hard. What do you buy? You don't.
Some people have the passion for the machine first, and then they just start creating fabulous things. So I've seen it go both ways. I mean, I see it every day, all week long. So a lot of creative.
Can I also just add? I mean, if you look at Rick's the combs, I mean, it's definitely a brand. I mean, this tattoo kind of this brand. It's not just engraving somebody's name on a comb. So even if you're thinking of doing tumblers, I mean, have a unique idea of like, how are you going to be unique? Don't just engrave your name. Do something maybe above that. So that's just
have a story, right? Like when I see Rick's marketing, it's a story, and nobody's cooler. Like I go look. I mean, not even like just beard combs. I haven't looked around, but like just anywhere, you're like, what? No, that is what I want when I see a beard comb. Like, what is your story? I'm a lumberjack. I'm a hiker who doesn't wear like nylon. I hike in like flannel and cotton, and I sit by a fire every night. This is my life, and that's the story. And without a story, what is your marketing? It's just like nobody's going to believe you. People want something that they can, like, you can go buy a plastic beard comb from Walmart, I'm sure, and go comb your beard, and your beard looks great, perfect. You might not even need a comb for your beard. I don't know. I've never had one long enough, but when you buy a product, you're buying something to tell someone something about, right? Yeah. You need stories to say, look at my story. This is my story. Check this out. And people are like, wow, you're cool. So a reason, you're buying a product for a reason to be cool.
Don had a big beard. I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's right.
For Outlaw was asking, so that was good.
Yeah, it's true, because like the artwork that's on these combs isn't just by accident. It was chosen very specifically for a very specific demographic.
Exactly.
And we tried a lot of other artwork and stuff. And one of the keys to our business was to keep our SKUs low. We didn't want And the other idea is like this is we call this the number 5 comb. Here's our Beards to Death comb. This comb has about 6 different artworks. What better way to make a person buy the same product 5 times than to put different artwork on them? So we would get people be like, well, I have to have this one, and then I have to have that one, and they were collecting them. because they like the artwork. It's the same product. It was the artwork. It was the branding. It was like the laser engraved product. If it wasn't laser engraved with a different artwork of a specific kind, they weren't buying it, stuff like
Absolutely.
that. Wow. Yeah. It all starts with a Pokemon. You got to have them all.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wanted to I want to pull up this question here from the chat as well, because I thought it was a good question, but sort of contribute to what James was saying. I just very quickly, again, I think it's hard to talk about that sort of, I mentioned this earlier, I think hard to talk about that sort of marketing side without it coming off as, a bit whatever. But the thing that you're looking for, I think the word you're looking for is authenticity. It's like if when you tell a story and it feels, good and it feels right to you, then, you feel good about using that thing, right? Like with all due respect to Lev, I think these look great, but this is exactly the reason you go to Rick instead of just anybody to get this beard comb, because it's not just like our customers constantly deal with this problem, right? Like, what do you recommend to customers where people can just rip their artwork off of Instagram and copy their designs?
That's a great point, Don. Actually, I got these from Vecteezy and I did them really quickly, but they look nothing like what Rick does in terms of the customization. I mean, it's a branding.
Yeah. Like they look nice, but they're just not.
He knows
the same,
he knows
right?
his brand. Like he knows what the artwork has to be. He knows the direction it's going. You can go and grab some tattoo art and drop it on, but unless your branding is going in a direction and you've thought about it and had years to hash this thing out, you can't just start doing that exact thing. So you be your own self, your own interests, right?
People can tell, man. I firmly believe that people can tell when something isn't coming from a place that's, genuine sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, listening to your customers too, like I was talking earlier, we were trying to have only so many SKUs. So, if we had some artwork, there's an all-seeing eye there.
Mm-hmm.
If this comb isn't popular, we drop it and replace it with another. So we don't add this comb and another comb and another comb till there's 25 combs to choose from. We drop the ones that are popular. And we only have 5. It's kind of like Apple, right? You got 5 phones to choose from. They don't have 35 phones to choose from. You give too many people too many options, and they go into analysis paralysis. They can't make a decision.
Yeah.
So you got to focus in on a very narrow kind of find what sells and what's good for you, and stick with that. And don't be afraid to change if it's not working for you. Some of the best combs that I've made, they don't sell. And I'm just like, I love this comb. Why won't people buy this comb? But you got to make what people sell. So you got to give up on that dream. It's not going to be a good comb, and sell the combs that do make sense. We have a number 9 comb, which is kind of a stretched out version of this. And we've sold 50, 60,000 of these combs. I got so many I can't even count. And it's just, that's the popular comb. That's the one people want. So
yeah, we're at
your customers will tell you what they want.
Yeah.
I just want to say we're at the top of the hour, but let's go for another maybe 10 minutes. We got a lot of questions from the chat here. Sure. Don, if you want to go through them.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I really like this question. Rick, he's asking, do you put anything on the wood beforehand to ensure a stronger burn or a better?
Probably a darker mark is what he's probably talking about.
Yeah, this is what James was talking about earlier with wood and Don. We pick specific woods that we know burn a certain way. So we use the wood that we use on all of our art combs is a wood called Macaré, and it burns very dark. It looks really nice. If you take a wood like walnut, which we use as well, and we don't do any artwork combs on walnut because you got a black engraving on dark wood.
Yeah,
it burns, but it doesn't stand out. It doesn't pop out. This is burned onto birch, right? So you've got to play around with different woods and find the woods that burn better. Cedar burns really good, leaves a real nice dark, goes really deep. But certain woods, they're not good for laser engraving where they pop.
Yep.
And it's the wood itself. It's the laser hitting the wood and cooking maybe the sugars that are in the wood or other sap and stuff that's in the wood. The laser reacts with the woods differently. Unlike, plexiglass, very consistent product. It's going to cut the same. It's going to engrave the same. It's very consistent. You can set your settings and you go. But with wood, you want a dark engraving, you have to pick a wood that engraves dark.
Yep.
There's nothing really else you can do. Engraving deeper doesn't make anything blacker. Running the machine slower or using more power won't give you a blacker mark on certain woods. It'll just engrave deeper.
Just focus. I mean, but then if you take it out of focus, you're going to lose your absolute perfect engraving quality. So you have to trade off. Yeah.
And to your point from earlier, also, that's where some of those other machines like a UV printer comes in. That's where the sort of, synergy between different things comes in. If you really want to do something on a dark wood, maybe engraving isn't the one for this. Maybe it's a printing. If you want to do something on a super bright wood, then maybe engraving is the go-to. But you can have that mix and find something sort of in the middle that works.
Use the right machine for what you're aiming at.
The right job.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Surmark, really quickly here, are you using the tape, the spray, the mix? What's your weapon of choice?
I have used the mix and the spray. I haven't used the tape. The spray works really well if I'm doing like the metal combs and I have 50, 60 of them to do. I just lay them all out and spray across them. But you waste a lot of it, and it's fairly expensive product.
Mm-hmm.
So it works really well.
It just feels good.
and it's quick. I mean, it comes down to a product. I'm selling a product for an X amount of price. There's room in there for me to spray half of my Ceremark on the cardboard backer, and because speed is more important to me. But if you're doing the little dog tags we have, and you hit it with the spray can, 80% of the product ends up on the background. That's probably not the best way to use the product. So use a little sponge brush. You can buy these little, these little sponge little things for doing like painting.
Yeah,
like
those are great.
The edges off and stuff like these. You get these at the dollar store or whatever, and then you dip it in your Ceremark, and it just leaves a perfect level mark on there. It's just so easy and very controlled, zero waste. So the tape itself looks like an interesting product, but I think it's a very specific case use for that specific product. I have never had use for it.
I've never heard of that sponge brush trick. That's a good trick.
I've been using that since before I've been engraving, really. So 25 years using that. Like the sponge brush works great on paint. It also works good on Surmark. You can cut the Surmark a little thinner if you're using the premix. You cut it a little thinner. It just lays flat on there after. And
I haven't had any problems like, if you lay down Ceremark incorrectly and you've got streaks or heavy areas and then it thins out, like a brush would leave, you're going to get inconsistent results. The foam brush, it just lays it down perfect. Yeah. I've never had any problems with it. I mean, there's a little bit of waste because the sponge brush will suck up a lot of the Ceremark and hold it in there, but
squeeze it back.
Yeah, nothing compared to spraying it out of a spray can.
Yeah.
Spray can's good if you're in a hurry.
Question here from Memories Made. What are you using for fume extraction?
Like a dust collector type motor that I've taken all the parts off of and just used the blower. I think it's like a 1.5 horse, so way more than I need. If you're going to close the door on the Speedy, you got to hold on to it because it'll suck the door, slam the table down.
Yeah.
And if it's engraving anything, because I do a lot of wood and it produces a lot of smoke. If that smoke's coming up and it's not just going whipping out through the back vents, you need more. You can't have it lingering around in the cabinet, coming back down on your lens and frosting up you got to get rid of it fast, right? So, a powerful dust extractor. Don't go for something cheap like I don't know. It's got to be pretty good. And then I just blow it straight outside. I don't use a filter or anything like that. But I have the luxury of doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Some people don't, and they have to get a filter.
Yeah.
Maybe last question here from Eduardo. Rick, cutting the 1/8 inch wood and the 1/8 inch plywood. Have you ever had any bumps when you hit a knot or a hardwood area?
Yeah.
Avoid.
The wood, you can pick your wood, so you can pick nice wood, straight grain. You're not likely going to cut through knots because it's just a weak area anyways. So you avoid that. So that's not really a problem. The plywood, you can't see what's under the veneer. And a good example is when I'm cutting these boxes. I have to accept certain amount of loss if I hit a knot buried in the board and it doesn't cut all the way through. So what I do is I do tests. And this is where it comes down to having a bed that's really flat and a vacuum that I can vacuum the plywood down as flat as possible. Then I can run this laser as fast as I possibly can to cut just through the plywood. But if I do hit a knot, it's not going to go through the plywood. So it's a trade-off. I want to go as fast as possible, and I'm willing to accept a few reject parts. But yeah, I mean, if you have to get every single part out of that sheet, you crank the power up or you slow the machine down, and you blast through more than you need. But when you do hit the knot, you also blast through that too. So you got to get that out.
Yes, glue-filled voids is the worst. Knots I can usually get through on a 80 watt, or 120 watt, of course. Is even better because then you don't have to crank it up. You can go a little faster. But it's when you have really cheap plywood, like you buy that box store plywood, and it is full of glue-filled voids, and the glue just lights on fire. Like you just get a big shot of flame and black smoke coming out of there. When you buy good wood, you actually are saving money in the end. Just buy wood that's made for laser engraving, because it's definitely going to save you time. And in this industry, I find in most of this industry, time is where you are making your most money. The materials don't cost as much as your time.
Yeah, it reminds me of a saying like, only a rich man can afford to buy cheap tools. I mean, because you just buy them over and over and over. It doesn't save you any money to buy cheap material, because the frustrations and the losses and stuff, in the end, it's going to cost you more than just buying the good material to begin with and getting on with the job.
I got to write that down. That's
I love that line too. Yeah. I'm picturing a sign with like a picture of Rick's face there.
Yeah, it empties your wallet a little faster, but buy once, cry once. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, that's
my biggest. I had a friend say to me one time, my biggest fear is one day I'll die and my wife will sell off all my tools for what I told her I paid for them.
Yeah,
that's what I say about all my music gear.
Yeah. No, it wasn't that much, honey. Buy the good one. It'll save you money in the long run. Buy the good Speedy 300.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what they say about our machines. Oh, they're so expensive, but yeah, they're expensive
for
a reason.
One time. Yeah,
it's a perfect example. I bought a Trotec because I like nice tools and I like to use nice tools. I don't like working on my tools.
Yeah, like with them.
Yeah, I like my CNC machine. I've never done anything with it in 12 years. I think a one encoder went on it and was like a $200 part in 12 years. The Speedy, it's been going 6 years. I'm noticing the tube's starting to get weaker now, but like that's after thousands of hours of use. So I mean, come on, it's made me so much money. It doesn't owe me anything anymore. So I'd rather be working than working on my tools.
Yeah. I think that's a really strong place to end. I did have one more question for you, and I always think of this when it comes to right now it's on my mind because with everything going on in the world, maybe we can't go out and get our hair cut and stuff. But when you run a beard comb business, do you ever feel pressure to make sure your beard looks really nice every time you go out in public? Like somebody doesn't take a picture of you on like a bad beard day and like fraud.
No. Actually, a lot of the products we sell and stuff, I don't even use, to be honest. Because I'm in the shop so much and I've got like a respirator on and my beard's all smashed. And if I've got beard oil and beard balm and stuff, it gets all over my respirator and it's all over the place. So, I mean,
his beard takes a beating, so yours doesn't have to. Basically, it's
my beard is used as the testing ground though for all new products for sure. Yeah.
Cool. We really appreciate the time, man.
Man.
It's so fantastic to have you on. I mean, come on back anytime. We're very, very happy to have you. I think, if you guys have any questions for Rick, certainly we hope this will go up on our YouTube channel. If you leave them in the comments, we'll try and get them to Rick if we can. Any questions for us? Obviously, again, leave them in the comments on YouTube. Reach out.
What's your website address, Rick?
I was going to say, please, yeah.
BigRedBeardCombs.com.
All right.
Yeah, and if you find any of my accounts on social media and you got questions like the Atomic Laser or Big Red Beard Combs, hit me up in the DMs. I'm happy to answer any questions. Actually, before the show here, I had other Trotec owners asking me questions about laser engraving stuff, and
cool.
It's good to talk to other engravers and people using the Trotec products.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Okay.
And we showed James's email at the top of the show, but again, if you want to get a hold of James, obviously, if you want to schedule, a demo in BC, if you want to, ask any questions about what you've seen today, that sort of thing, you can also reach out to James. We are always open. We like answering your questions. That's the whole, purpose of doing these every single week. So, we're really, really happy to be able to help you guys out and hopefully bring attention to cool businesses like Rick's. So, absolutely. Yeah. So for the time being, I think we will see you again next week. A huge thank you again to Rick, to James, to Lev. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you again next Friday.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks, Rick.
Absolutely.